I just, sit on a bolster some of the time, some of the time I lay down.
I like the idea of a bolster under my knees too, if I lay down.
And then she's doing it on Zoom too.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, it's like YouTube, but.
We're gonna take us out.
So, this is Sally and Sarah.
Hi, Sally. Nice to meet you.
They're-
Chris.
Sally was here years ago. Sarah is new.
Excellent. Are you friends of Lennox?
No, we just met.
You just met.
Really?
Okay,
So I was just telling them kind of the way it works.
The way it works? It works. I started the stream so early because I was paranoid of not being able to start it.
Yeah, that was good.
That it's actually running right now.
Yeah. I think Connor had called up for it.
Well, he was just in a yoga class with me, just the two of us, so he might be having enough of me.
Oh, no, I don't think that is.
I think the way this works is I can go back and like trim parts of it.
Oh.
So I'll have to ask about that. I'm not super concerned. You okay?
I am. I just reached awkwardly, that's all. And I just said, "Oh,
Oh, that's okay. Sometimes it helps to let it out. I heard some big thunder. Even in here, I could hear it.
My cats were crazy last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a full moon.
You never know with cats.
Well, they're only a year old, but one of them kept wanting to jump up on this line, these like accordion type lines, and pull a little string.
Having two cats is a blast.
Yeah, then they got up, well, he was on a dresser and he just kept jumping up and trying to he actually got stuck up there. And I had to take him.
Oh,
And so, and then I sent him out of the room and the dog was like concerned and she wanted to go out and find out why. Then everybody was crying at the door to the bedroom. I mean, this went on all night, I don't know. Oh, no. I don't know what got into them.
it's funny.
okay. I successfully in the chat, and I think we might have like a half a minute before we get started.
I was just reading your sign up there. What's the difference between the wool and the cotton?
The stripy ones are cotton, and the heavy grayish ones are wool. And they're great because of the density, but I personally don't care for the fabric, the scratchiness, very much. Yeah, I usually, and for different purposes, we would use different ones. Yeah, it's just nice to have options.
That's pretty right there.
That is nice. Well, I think we'll get started. My name's Christine Clardy. You can call me Chris now that we're besties. Thank you for your interest tonight in the meditation and Dharma talk. Thanks for your presence. I'm subbing for Annie. And when she texted to ask if I could sub for her, of course, I'm happy to do that. It's a great pleasure for me. And of course, my mind started spinning like, oh, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to talk about? And immediately my thought was, well, I'll talk about effort. And it actually is something that's been on my mind coincidentally. So it's funny how when you have an opportunity to sit and put your thoughts together, there really are thoughts there sometimes. And I hope that I can share that with y'all tonight, as well as just provide you time and space for presence and for rest and for having thoughts of your own, if that's what happens for you. So our very first task is to find physical comfort, to find some ease. It may be that you've already done that. It may be that you jumped into thinking, oh, this is meditation. I have to sit straight up and I have to be a little bit uncomfortable. That actually is not the case. You are welcome to make yourself feel supported. It's a little bit like a kid at school who can't focus on learning arithmetic or whatever it is because he's hungry, or she wore the wrong socks and is embarrassed, or whatever the case may be. We like to have some of these controllable things taken care of. So I see folks in here kind of settling in. It's nice. Take care of yourself. Actually, that example of the school moment is something that I think we can use as we get into our first spot of meditation. For tonight, we'll alternate between, talking and sitting quietly, and then maybe also sitting with some, particular images or ideas. Once you feel yourself to be perfectly at ease, you might let the eyes rest by casting them down or even closing them. For a few moments, what is it like to be here tonight? It is definitely a dark and stormy night. We've heard thunder even here in the depths of the studio. What are you hearing? What parts of the physical body feel rooted and present? And finally, where does the breath move most easily for you? Take a few cycles around the bases of sound, ground, and breath. Sound, ground, and the rolling cycle of the breath. If it feels natural for you, you might pause to appreciate a sense of luxury. The beautiful intelligence of the physical body breathing. The systematic and consistent pull of gravity that holds all of us equally. And the constant interplay of sound as it drifts in and out. Take a moment to imprint this sense of being anchored and this sense of ease. I'll ask you now to participate in a little thought experiment as we get going with some of the ideas for tonight. Let's start with something easy and accessible, perhaps from your own memory. The days of school often seem a very rich place to find these kinds of memory. I'm curious if you can bring up a time when you felt that you had made effort, but it wasn't recognized. And this could be something little, again, from art class in second grade. It could be something from your work life. In the time and space we have tonight, it doesn't need to be the biggest, scariest, most frustrating thing you've ever experienced, but some tiny story where you felt like you had tried, you had made effort, and yet it wasn't seen. And as you get that story up in your mind, in your memory, can you move toward that person, that self, maybe quite a bit younger self, or maybe not so much, and see what that body, that physical body was feeling without needing to put names to it. You remember feeling or tension in the jaw? Were you unable to sit still? Very physically restless? Tears or tightness in the throat? Just take a moment, if you will, to reconjure that sensation. And we won't be here for long. And you've already survived that moment, so you can take a moment now to get a handle on it. We're going to be using it. We won't leave it. We won't abandon it. And once you feel like you have some access to that, you can return to the feeling of this ground, these sounds, the sound of my voice, this breath in this moment. And welcome to keep your eyes closed if you want to resituate yourself. And I want to have us kind of in touch with some memory like that, because again, what I was thinking of as I came to share with you guys tonight was this idea of effort. I was so proud. I also teach yoga, so I was very proud of myself in class recently when I gave the instruction, let go of efforting. Let go of efforting. And I'm sure that I got that from another teacher or something somewhere along the line. And it did seem to be effective in the class as just we're on the mat working with some physical posture. Let go of the efforting of it. My intention was to help students release physical tension around the shape. It was Trikonasana or triangle, whatever it was, so that the muscles themselves could relax, and maybe there would be more ease even when trying the effort of making shape. And in that way, maybe help students be more present to the shape that they are in, rather than constantly looking to be in a deeper, bigger, bolder kind of shape. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Let go of efforting. And I did have good intentions around that. However, I was on a long drive the other day, and I love to listen to books, and I was listening to a book by the Buddhist teacher named Joan Halifax, and it's called Being with Dying. Being with Dying. And I've just started it, so I don't know the whole book yet, but one of the things that she was talking about was effort, and how it takes effort to take care of yourself. It takes effort to eat healthy food. It takes effort to get yourself to the doctor, or sometimes it takes effort to even take a pause and rest. It takes effort to come to your meditation. In fact, she said, at its core, effort is letting go of fear, which caught my attention. I wasn't thinking along those lines. It sounded really great. There's no one who doesn't have fear. So when a teacher talks about fear, it kind of catches our attention. That's all something we attempt to address. Fear can be a difficult thing. Did you guys know the movie Dune? There's a great line where the mom tells the son, "Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the mind killer." And she teaches all these really awesome mind skills. And so, yeah, like fear can really hold us back. It can keep us right smack in bed on some mornings. So I loved that idea at its core. Effort is a letting go of fear. And it did apply for working yoga poses on the mat, right? Especially if you're doing something like the crow pose is just notorious for you have to kind of come forward into your balance and let gravity be there, and you have to overcome your own fear. So we know that that's a real dynamic. Effort is a letting go of fear. So it was good to have effort. And here I was telling my students that they should let go of effort. So I started to get very confused about the paradoxical nature of those teachings. It was hard for me to reconcile what seemed like the paradox. But then I thought, maybe this idea of efforting, adding that extra ing, is actually kind of the linguistic key to understanding what that cue, let go of efforting, is really all about. There is that tension between being in the pose or the place where you are and thinking that you need to be somewhere else. The human brain really works on, some people call it the discrepancy model. So it's very natural. It's a part of our survival mechanism. Wherever we are, whatever we have, we're comparing it to where we need to be next, or where we should be. And of course, those mechanisms serve us well, but they can also spiral out of control. And when that happens, we might call that efforting. So that tension between being in a pose or being where we are and wanting to be someplace else, those layers become the problematic part, the extra ing on top of the effort. But even these layers are natural, right? Again, the discrepancy model is something that works within us to keep us functional, to keep us safe, to keep us secure. I mean, the truth of it is life does require some effort. There are things that we do need. And even emotionally, we have those things. So there are these layers that might come on a yoga mat and that might come in real life as well. When I'm in this pose, am I being seen? Am I being appreciated for it? Am I impressive? Am I taking good care of myself? Have I done the right thing? Have I made the pose just correctly? Was my Bakasana better this time than last time? Or at the very least, we would like to not be laughed at. for falling over. We all have a fear of being ridiculed or laughed at or not measuring up. And this line of inquiry can help us get a bigger picture of our actions and our interactions with myself and with those around me. In the bigger picture, sometimes in our lives, efforting can come out as overworking or even workaholism, not being able to offer help without recognition. Feeling resentful for people who seemingly receive a lot of benefit without much apparent effort on their part. And sometimes we can fall into wanting to send signals. I'm a good person. I donated to this or that. And we even have coined a new term, virtue signaling, if you've heard this term. If you wear the right t-shirt and have the right sign in your yard, et cetera, everyone will know that you have made the effort. And that is a way of addressing really a very human fear, which is multifaceted, but kind of all rooted in a fear of not getting what we want. If there's an agenda, a political agenda that I want, the effort that I make is going to help that happen. And I'm afraid of what would happen if XYZ agenda was not met. If I'm not a good enough worker, I will become undervalued. Maybe I'll even be abandoned. I could lose my job, or I could be simply not needed in my community or my society. These are really deep and powerful fears. They're all familiar to us. And somehow they all relate to this idea of effort. And the words of Joan Halifax, at its core, effort is a letting go of fear. So how is it that I can do my work, whether it's my regular employment or whatever social community cause that I'm participating in? How can I make that effort and have it not be based on fear? I'm not sure I could say in one simple sentence the answer to that. That would mean that there was an answer for how can we erase fear? And to my knowledge, there's not an easy way to do that for us tonight. Something that Joan Halifax talks about, rather than an egotistical, controlling, self-absorbed kind of effort, there are some things that we can do as we go along and along and along and along. So if we look back at that memory of your memory of having made effort and having it not recognized, addressing the pain that caused. We took a moment perhaps to touch into some of the physical sensations in the body we get when we are embarrassed or frustrated or feel abandoned, whatever it was in your particular memory. That neurology is part of the expression of the fear of not having been recognized, not having been seen. My effort was not appreciated. It seems to me there's almost nothing scarier than that. It's interesting because even though I'm sitting here saying that it's super duper common, we all resist it. and that's super duper common too. I think can be of comfort to look to nature. There was a little article in the New York Times today, I think it was, called The Pushy Plant, and I couldn't not read that. And it was about this weed that they studied, very common in the southeast of the United States. It's called the elephant foot weed, and it has these big broad leaves, and it's very low to the ground. So it's super sneaky, and it just takes over everything. And it grows in all kinds of conditions quite quickly and prolifically, like a weed. And for whatever reason, some botanists decided to study it. And what they discovered was when the plant comes up, it has these broad leaves that come up in sort of a rosette. And then they uncurl and spread horizontally across the earth. And when they do that, they actually measured the plant's ability to push things out of the way, and come to find out this plant has the strength to push a dime, which doesn't sound like very much, but it can push a dime. And it's this little weed. And in terms of proportion, the plant pushing a dime really is strong and powerful as an elephant. This plant doesn't only get things out of the way the leaves uncurl actually encompass as many as 15 or 20 other blades of grass nearby. And as the leaves uncurl, they smother the other grasses and kill them so that this pushy plant can grow. So this drama is happening in every square foot of some weedy person's yard somewhere, probably my own. If that is happening in our backyard, I can only imagine the truth of the effort and the need of each of us in our neighborhood and community, county, state, and country to push and to some even eradicate something that's in the way. And this gets us to real and very current events. If the rich panoply of human existence on this planet is like a garden, it's always growing and things are always shifting, and there's a group pushing another group, and some crushing something else. And which one are we? Which one am I? The pushy plant, or the blade that's gotten crushed, or the soil that they grow in? I think I've probably been all of those. And that is, again, the vast array of experience. And if that is true, again, we can't not be afraid. And at the very same time, we cannot not make effort. So what's the out? What's the key to sort of unlock this contradiction, this problem, if you will? I've just described it, I think. Is there an out? Again, if it were easy, I think we would have all figured it out. We wouldn't be here talking about it. But there is a loophole, and this is one of the greatest gifts of human existence, and that is the power of attention. The power of attention. So when the pushy plant is growing, it's not even aware of what's happening on the other side of the yard. It's really focused on one particular leaf uncurling in these minuscule, tiny, microscopic, difficult to measure increments. And the even better news than our ability, just like the pushy plant, to focus our attention, the even better news is that attention itself is healing. So along with the gift of attention and choice of attention, we have the gift of healing. The teacher, Jack Kornfield, who teaches mindfulness meditation and is very accessible if you ever wanted to listen to some of his talks, he says that it is the greatest gift of human life, the possibility of healing. If you think about the ages, the span of time across the globe, the art and science of healing has taken place in every culture. Healing, reduce fear. We have to look at what we have. We have to work with what we have. When we think about trying to find wholesome, skillful effort, we need to work with what we've got. And so far we have, and they go together quite nicely because attention itself is healing. So let's return to another internal moment if you're up for it. If you're comfortable, stay where you are. If you'd like to shift and find another place of ease, you might do that. Let's take an anchoring breath. Allow it to enter. Watch it depart. See if you can tap into that feeling of when the next inhale presents itself without you having to do a thing. This is what Gandhi has called the blessed monotony of meditation. Attending to the breath. It's a daily essential practice. Notice in your physical body where the breath enters. Let it turn and roll and pour itself out of your body. See if you can, little effort as possible. Almost as if there were something breathing you instead of you doing the effort of breathing. And then if and when you are ready, you might bring this loving, attentive healing and watching to the person in your earlier memory. You might start with the physical sensations that were present for you. And as you breathe in, let that attention go to the place, go to the constricted throat. Go to the fluttering heart or the sweaty palm or the knotted belly. This is the caring, kind attention that is itself healing. Simply notice. acknowledge. This is the work we can do after a difficulty. Allow yourself to keep your heart inside your body. If there are any other places of discomfort from that memory, or other places that you know tend to collect tension and conflict. Another place of the interior where there is disappointment. Can we let go enough to move toward that which is broken or wounded, tense or anxious? Keep your heart with your body. Continue to take a few breaths here, trusting in the power of attention. Trusting that the next in-breath arrives. And it arrives because we have let go of the previous. Let's continue to trust the force of our attention to heal. And we continue that essential practice of cultivating the opposite of fear. Cultivating trust in your ability to heal. Know that it's happening right now. You're doing it. By attending, by your very presence and acknowledgement, and entrainment, harm to Let each breath be a renewed intention toward attention. And again, always know that attention itself is healing. It is said that the bird of healing has two wings, one of awareness and one of compassion. Feel your hands where they are right now. You might imagine them as the two wings of awareness and compassion. If you'd like to stay where you are, simply enjoy a feeling of spaciousness and the pure potential of this moment. Stay where you are. You might also take an opportunity, if you like, to turn your eyes into your hand. Comfortable for you. Let them lift and float, and let the hands land anywhere along the sides of your head. Any place where that touch could serve as a reminder of the bird of healing with two wings, awareness and compassion. Take another breath. Remembering that at its core, effort is a letting go of fear. And know that in the time you have taken with yourself here tonight, you have been seen and felt and heard and touched and healed. One of my sons, when he was just 19 years old, was telling me the story of how he was giving advice to do the next right thing. And that has always stayed with me. As we move away from this quiet space, getting more involved in effort, and of course, inevitably efforting when we feel our effort have been messy or misguided, we can come back to keep it simple. Simply do the next right thing. And you might even ask yourself tonight, what is that for me? As I deepen breath and bring movement to the head, fingertips and toes. Flutter the eyes open. And ease our way back to wholesome, skillful, fearless effort. Thank you so much. Good night.